Sometimes I think that potters leave Easter eggs behind for us, little things that you might not notice until long after you started using the piece. So I guess that leads to, these are the kinds of things I think about when I make pots. This is a bisque-fired teapot of mine. And it's just on the surface a very ordinary little teapot. But there's a lot of decisions that go into it on a formal level in terms of how I use the elements and principles of art. But I also like to include details that have to do with the use of it, the experiential aspect of it. One of the things I learned from I Ching potters is that the pour is an important aspect of a teapot, that I want it to have a very clean, quiet pour and then stop when you stop pouring. So in a sense, a teapot is not just a noun, a teapot is a verb. It's the action, it's the quality of the pour that signals the difference between a good teapot and sometimes a not so good teapot. I like the lid to fit as if it actually belongs there. Like in this case, this particular pot, I was just playing a lot with the idea of a triangle. And so triangular forms, both negative and positive, are found all over it. And you know, for me, that if someone's enjoying looking at these things, finding them, spending time with them, then it's been successful. Several times during my career, I've had people comment to me that they notice things sometimes years after they started using the pot, and to me, that's the one of the greatest accolades, in a sense, that they could give about the pot, is that they still have things to find there. There are still things to discover.
So a number of years ago, a garden club came to visit my studio, and they were very interested in acquiring some vases. And a number of the people said to me, "Do you have any vases with extra openings, multiple openings? We do flower arrangements, and we try to enter these to win awards and so on, and we never can find these vases with extra openings." I said, "Okay, well, give me a chance, and I'll see what I can acquire." So since then, I've been working on these vases that start out with a base that I throw on the wheel that's just a cylinder. And then I roll out clay into slabs. And I love impressing things into that wet clay, like these leather leaf ferns. And you can see the impressions in the clay here. Sometimes I also grab some leaves and I roll them in the clay, and then I cut them out and add them on. Then I add on some things that make me think of things growing in the garden. Some of the vases end up with fish swimming around the bottom or all kinds of bugs crawling up the sides. So it's kind of a chunk of ground to put the flower arrangement in. You can see that this has multiple openings. We have a kind of a larger one here and some on the side. So most of these have at least 3 openings. And then they really change depending on what flowers we put in here. So I went over to the grocery store and I just picked up a bundle. And you don't even have to be terribly clever as a flower arranger. You pretty much can stick them in. And you can decide on how high you want them, whether you want to shorten them up. But the various openings allow you to kind of build this if that's kind of what you want to do. And so you get a very different effect than just having something pop out at the top, like probably would be for most vases. And often I will bring out the ferns some more and stuff them in so I can make this fuller, richer, whatever. So I think of this as art for the table. So, as I told you, the base kind of changes depending on what kind of flowers you do put in. And by the way, they're usually monochromatic. This is one of my favorite glazes. This kind of green, stony glaze kind of reminds me of the arts and crafts period. Some are more white, some are more blue if there's a reference to a pond. But now here's some flowers that are white, and you will see that this looks quite different when I change the palette. And again, you don't have to be a real master here at how you build this up, or they almost make themselves. But it's so much fun. I can hardly wait to load them. And people often send me pictures of how they loaded theirs. And sometimes the flowers are draped all over the place, but I'll add some more white here and you can see what I mean about how you can just continue to build this up into a gorgeous wall of stuff and enhance it. So they are a lot of fun to work on, and it's like making live art. And I do collage, and this time I'm collaging with flowers.
Hi. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the things I think about when I make my ceramics. In this particular case, especially surface decoration. One of the things that I like to take advantage of in terms of working with clay is that it's flexible so that you can make a variety of different shapes. But as the form starts to dry out, it reaches another stage, which we in ceramics call the leather hard stage. And that is a stage in which the clay, the pot, is the same color as the plastic clay, but enough moisture has evaporated from it so that now it can hold its shape. And during this stage, a lot of potters take advantage of the relative rigidity of the form, but the softness of the surface to do a variety of decorating techniques. I use the clay at this stage to do a carving technique, which I developed using a little wooden tool like this. And this tool is made from a strip of ebony, and a notch is cut into it with a round file, and then the edge of it is cut to form two little knife edges on either side. And then this tool can be used to incise or cut patterns into the surface of the pot. The leather heart stage is particularly useful, especially with with stoneware clay, because the leather heart stage is relatively long. Other clays like porcelain, the leather heart stage is relatively short, and so you have to work much faster. But at any rate, that's how I achieve the kind of linear patterns that I have on the surfaces of many of my pots by using this tool. Okay. Now I got inspired to explore this avenue of decoration in terms of my transitioning in terms of the focus of my art from social commentary and the civil rights movement to my investigation of my African heritage. One of the things I discovered when I was involved in researching African culture was that Africans have this natural tendency to decorate everything. They decorate themselves, they decorate their architecture, they decorate their animals, and the decorative tradition in Africa is far more complicated and varied than that of the Western world. But at any rate, that was one of the things that really attracted me to the African culture and using their sense of decoration or their sense of design in making my work. Many times I only think that I make pots so that I will have a surface to decorate, because when I'm throwing a pot on the wheel, I'm seeing that pot not as just a pure form, but as a form that's going to be decorated in some way.